really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
My name is Whitney Allen. I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage, no medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Joe Fallon did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he commissioned a portrait of himself. Does Joe already know what he looks like? Yes. Do guests know what he looks like? Also yes. But not as art. It's Joe's savings, and if he wants to spend it on a velvet painting of the white tiger at his feet, we say, roar, Joe, roar. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you in live here. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We are off and rolling here on a Tuesday. Well, look, the NFL offseason has started a lot earlier than what we all would have liked. I think me as a Browns fan, I kind of figured, what cards I was dealt heading into the season. So I'm not surprised that my season is done. And I don't think some of you Bengals fans are that surprised that your season is done, but I think it's still a tough pill to swallow. I still don't think that that people have truly wrapped their mind around the fact that it is just fascinating how you can go 3 straight years with Joe Burrow as your quarterback and not make the playoffs. Now, this isn't me beating up on, like we beat up on your team a lot yesterday. That's really not what this is going to be about today. But I do want to open up the show with the question throwing out to you Bengals fans. Every year we do this whole, is this the most important offseason in the history of the franchise? And every year it truly feels like it is. But do you sense something different right now? Do you feel like this offseason right now for the Cincinnati Bengals, that it's not just an offseason to put a contender on the field, it's about an offseason to keep Joe Burrow in a Bengal uniform? That's what I want to open up the show with today. Are the Cincinnati Bengals auditioning for Joe Burrow this offseason? That's what I want to know. That's what we'll open up with. We'll get into the Browns more coming up in just a bit. Also, Buckeyes. The more I've sat back and I've kind of thought about it. I took a look at their schedule for this upcoming season, and I thought, man, I feel like I thought 2015 Ohio State squandered probably it was the waste of the most talent ever and didn't make the playoff. You look at that schedule. I started thinking about this season. Thinking about the undefeated regular season. They finally beat that team up north, putting an end to the 4-game losing streak. And they make the playoff as the 2 seed. Many thought they were going to be the 1 seed. I did too, but they lose a close one to Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. Did they squander a ginormous opportunity? I get it. They just won a national championship last year, but I feel like by having nothing to show for what they accomplished this season, they may have left a national championship on the table, and we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. But 937-518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. 937-518-1410. You can call or you can text, all right? I'll be able to respond to your text messages when you text into the show, so make sure you take advantage of that. I told you guys this. We're using a new text platform. All your messages are coming through. But I have no clue who's texting what. So when you do send a message into the show to tell me how bad I am at this gig, to tell me how much you hate me and my opinions, that's fine. Text whatever you want. Just put your name to it so that I can give you credit for it. So there you go. But 937-518-1410, that's the number to call or text. There you go. You can also subscribe to the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. We used to carry this on all of our platforms. Right now, it is only exclusively on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. I've been instructed to grow that channel, so please head to YouTube, type in the Justin Kinner Show, and subscribe and like the show, please. That's been my instruction. Those were the instructions passed on to me, so I'm passing those on to you. So help me out as far as that goes. But all right. This offseason, it's the most important offseason in the history of the franchise for the Cincinnati Bengals. Agree or disagree? Joe Burrow is going to be entering year 7. Joe Burrow has played 6 full seasons for your Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow has been to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has been to back-to-back AFC championship games. Joe Burrow has missed the playoffs 4 times in 6 years. Right? Like, in fact, it's got to the point to where because there's been so many seasons of missing the playoffs, it's really hard to focus on the accomplishments of what this team has done when they've actually made the playoffs. So, as we sit here right now, for the first time, Joe Burrow has kind of sat back. And I said this last year, guys, when Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl, and not just won a Super Bowl, but won Super Bowl MVP, I kept saying that is not a good thing for the Cincinnati Bengals. That is not a good thing for Joe Burrow. And the reason I believe that is because Joe Burrow, because he's hurt a lot and he doesn't play in a lot of games every season, he has a lot of time on his hands to sit back and just kind of ponder. You know, he just gets to reflect on a lot of things. And we know that Patrick Mahomes is a multiple-time MVP, a multiple Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. We know that Lamar Jackson wins a lot of games. We know that he's a 2-time MVP, probably should have been a 3-time MVP last year. Josh Allen won his first MVP last year. Then you had Jalen Hurts, who just like Joe Burrow, went to a Super Bowl early in their careers, but then Jalen Hurts separated himself because he made it back to a Super Bowl, and then separated himself even more because he won the Super Bowl and won Super Bowl MVP. I remember that specifically because I started saying, look around the league. Quarterbacks are starting to lap Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is looking for his first MVP. Lamar Jackson's won multiple. Patrick Mahomes has won multiple. Joe Burrow's looking to win his first Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, who was taken in the same draft as Joe Burrow, wins a Super Bowl, wins a Super Bowl MVP. All these quarterbacks are just mounting up all these accomplishments. And when you think of the legacy of Joe Burrow, there is no legacy of Joe Burrow right now. Joe Burrow is the most popular quarterback to really accomplish nothing. And I'm not stirring the pot here. I'm not talking smack. I'm not trying to get you guys all fired up. But the reality is, I'm not saying this as a hater. I'm saying this because I think Joe Burrow knows it too. Joe Burrow knows how talented he is, and Joe Burrow knows he has nothing to really show for it. And you could say, well, he's made it to a Super Bowl. Yes, he's made it to one Super Bowl, but he's missed the playoffs 4 times. And Joe Burrow knows this, and he knows that legacy matters. And he knows that his legacy, I think the one reason that he loves playing in Cincinnati so much is because he would love to be the Curt Cignetti of the NFL, where he is leading a franchise like Cignetti is leading a program that doesn't ever accomplish anything. And if you can accomplish something with a program or a franchise that doesn't normally accomplish or never accomplish anything, your legacy is going to be even bigger than ever before. You know, Jordan Love, if you accomplish something in Green Bay, you win the Super Bowl, great. You're doing what Aaron Rodgers did before you. You're doing what Brett Favre did before him and Starr back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, there is something special about, like, Curt Cignetti could have easily left Indiana to take that LSU job and then win a national championship there, just like Ed Orgeron did, right? Just like, you know, just like Nick Saban did, just like the previous 3 coaches at LSU did, outside of Brian Kelly, of course. But Indiana, if he wins a national championship in Indiana, my goodness, that doesn't happen there. No one's ever done it before, and he'll be immortalized in the history of college football. We will always remember the name Curt Cignetti. And if Joe Burrow could win a Super Bowl in Cincinnati, because every year we talk about how poorly run that franchise is. Every year we talk about how horrible ownership group that they have. So if Joe Burrow can go there and accomplish it, you know, he can go to the Rams and do it. The Rams have won Super Bowls for years. They did it with Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk, obviously. They're going to, you know, they've done it with Matthew Stafford and company against your Cincinnati Bengals. Like, that franchise wins Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Joe Burrow can go to franchises that have traditionally won and won consistently. Like, it's not going to mean as much. I think Joe Burrow wants to stay in Cincy. He wants to win in Cincy because you will be remembered as one of the all-time greats. If you bring a Super Bowl to Cincinnati, that's way more memorable than bringing one to Dallas or anywhere else. And you could say, well, Dallas, that'd be pretty dang memorable. It would, but it's Dallas. Dallas has a history of getting to Super Bowls and winning. It's been a minute, don't get me wrong. But to do something in Cincinnati that's never been done, Joe Burrow wants his legacy to be in Cincinnati. And the Bengals have done everything they can, not to help him succeed, but to keep him from accomplishing building that legacy. All these quarterbacks are lapping him. Jaden Daniels, as a rookie, made it to the NFC Championship game. And if he didn't get hurt, who knows what would have happened as far as seeing him continue on. CJ Stroud has been to the playoffs and won in the playoffs every single year since coming into the NFL. And he has his hands full against a team that doesn't win, that doesn't lose on Monday Night Football. But, man, you imagine if C.J. Stroud leads his team to the playoff for 3 straight years, which he has, but also gets a win for 3 straight years. These quarterbacks are starting to mount up more success than Joe Burrow. And some of these aren't better than Joe Burrow. So when I ask you this offseason, are the Cincinnati Bengals auditioning for Joe Burrow? The Cincinnati Bengals are, you have Duke Tobin who's trying to keep his job, even though I don't think he's trying to keep his job. I think he knows his job is safe. But Zach Taylor's coaching for his career. You have a lot of young defensive players that are trying to play and prove that they could play long-term. They're trying to play for their careers, right? Like, you have a lot of people who are trying to do what's best for them, but the Cincinnati Bengals are trying to do what's best for Joe Burrow because they know if they have another failed offseason, if they go for the middle of the pile, if they go and reach at the bottom of the pile to start pulling out free agents to try to stop the bleeding here, and then they whiff on every draft pick like they've done the last 3 years, Joe Burrow's as good as gone. And I think deep down you guys all know it. Joe Burrow doesn't want to be noisy. He doesn't want to demand a trade. He's very cryptic with the way he carries himself and the answers he gives in these press conferences. But man, oh man, you all know that you all kind of held your breath a little bit when you started listening to his press conferences this year when he talked about what's the point of playing if you don't enjoy playing. He's not having, he was trying to recreate the Andrew Luck. Everyone gets mad. I can't believe everyone's comparing him to Andrew Luck. Well, it's because he was trying to be Andrew Luck with his cryptic little, press conference. And he said it again the other day, that changes have to come. And so far, the Cincinnati Bengals, after listening to Joe Burrow say changes need to come, the Bengals responded by saying, oh, yeah, you're right. Changes need to come, but we're not going to make any changes. In fact, every crappy coach that we have, we're bringing the whole coaching staff back. We're bringing back our crappy GM, and that means we are going to continue to operate the way we had the last 3 years because that's just what the Bengals do. 937-518-1410. Joe Burrow wants his legacy to stay in Cincinnati, but he needs to have a legacy. He can't have the legacy be, oh, man, the most talent. He can't be Dan Marino 2.0. And there's nothing wrong with being a Dan Marino. Dan Marino is still recognized as one of the most talented quarterbacks in the history of the league. But we never talk about Dan Marino in the same way that we do the John Elways and now the Patrick Mahomes and the Tom Bradys. Like, that'll never happen. Joe Burrow, when these careers are all done, we will never talk about him in the way that we do Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. And even Jalen Hurts is Super Bowl MVP. He knows that, and he doesn't want that to happen. And he will force his way out of Cincinnati if he has to. And if he does, we can't blame him because he's given the Bengals every opportunity to succeed with him. Help him, help you. 937-518-1410. That's the number to call or text. Do you agree that the Bengals are auditioning for Joe Burrow this offseason? We'll pick up with your calls and your text reaction when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show. We'll have more next.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-497-0593. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-497-0593. That's 800-497-0593. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
When you think of the most exciting team in Dayton, it's okay if you don't think of the doctors and therapists at Premier Health. We don't have jerseys or trading cards. We don't get primetime coverage. We don't sell out arenas, have good drip, or autograph sessions. We're just happy to be your team's favorite team.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well, you know.
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. With a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
Advent. Sleep better. Sleep together. Learn how you can improve your life at adventknows.com.
Ring in the new year and save big on everything for your next project. Now at Menards. Upgrade your bathroom today with our great selection of Broen bath fans. Get a Chroma Comfort bath fan that has 24 color options with unlimited color themes and a built-in Bluetooth speaker. View our entire selection of Broen bath fans on Menards.com. Plus, check out our weekly flyer for other great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
Hi, this is Dr. Justin with Dayton Weight Loss Secret. Have you been asking yourself, what is the secret to getting my excess weight off fast and easy like a lot of other people seem to be doing? The secret is Dayton Weight Loss Secret. Our program helps you lose weight fast and easy with no exercise, no prepackaged meals, no drugs, and no surgery. No injections and no need to be hungry. Our program helps reset your metabolism to keep the weight off for good. Schedule your free consultation at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com.
When I started this, I was at 386 pounds. Like I didn't feel bad, but I hurt. I don't hurt anymore. Pain's gone. The inflammation's gone. Swelling's gone. Everything's good. Blood works fantastic.
The Dayton Weight Loss Secret program has successfully helped thousands of people lose up to 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. Schedule your free consultation in person or virtually by calling 937-800-1070 or online at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com. Results may vary.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the stream at wingam.com.
Welcome back to the Justin Kinner Show. We are off and rolling here on a Tuesday, 937-518-1410. That's the number to call or text into the show. The Justin Kinner Show, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. The Justin Kinner Show on YouTube. That's where you could watch the show each and every day starting at 3 o'clock or 3:10, depending on, when I get my blank together. But that's besides the point. We welcome you back again. Get your calls in a second. I know we have Don and Eric and Mike on hold, and then I want to get to the text line real quick. So this came in, and again, when you text into the show, because we have this new text line now, The old platform used to text in your name with the message. Now we just get your message and I don't see your name. So I appreciate those when messaging in just to say, hey, it's Ben from Xenia or whatever. That definitely helps. So with that being said, Ben from Xenia, he texted into the show. And I guess I could reset this. The question I threw out, by the way, was, every offseason we do this whole little charade and game of, is this the most important offseason in the history of the franchise for insert franchise? But there is a vibe about the direction of this Bengals franchise right now that I feel like, yes, and I feel like I was a sucker for the moment last year and said that last year was the most important offseason, but I truly believe that this one coming up is, because I think what we have not had in previous seasons is Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow was always Joe Cool, right? Happy-go-lucky, always a smile on his face. That smile's been wiped away. Joe Burrow has been very vocal, and it kind of started on Super Bowl Media Row last year when he was kind of calling out his front office and just basically putting them on blast, doing it in a respectful way, of course, of trying to put that pressure on them to, hey, what are we doing? Get these contracts done. Like, why is this so hard? Like, Joe Burrow knows his value. He knows his worth, and I think he's confused just like all of us. Like, if you have a quarterback like that, and I'm a fan of a team that would kill to get a quarterback like Joe Burrow, I would be furious if my team finally does get a quarterback like Joe Burrow and then decides, well, hopefully we just draft well. We're not going to spend money. Oh, we got good talent around him. Well, I don't know if we really want to pay them. That's annoying. That's frustrating. So we started to see it unfold. But then when he came back from the injury, I'm sure he's upset with himself for the injury, but also to see how bad that defense was and knowing that they did absolutely nothing in the offseason last year. He knows his legacy is on the line. He knows all of that. So the question is, are the Bengals auditioning for Joe Burrow's future right now? This very well could be the final offseason with Joe Burrow as their quarterback. This very well could be the final season of Joe Burrow in Cincinnati in 2026. And I'm not hoping for that. I'm not stirring the pot. I think it's very realistic. Why else would Joe Burrow be saying all these things? And he's saying all these things. And imagine if they don't do it. And it's not that hard to imagine them not doing it because they consistently don't do it. So Ben and Xenia, when I threw out the question, are they auditioning for Joe Burrow this offseason? Ben and Xenia texted into the show, 937-518-1410. He said that he thinks that this is the most important offseason coming up for the Bengals due to the fact that Joe Burrow has been here as long as he has, plus the weapons we have deem it to be that big. You have to hit on this draft and you have to create urgency, especially on the defensive side. If that does not happen, this team will again not be in the playoffs, and you will start to hear words about how top-level players are ready to leave. Jamar Chase, who always has something to say, but he's speaking out a bit. Joe Burrow has been speaking out. I feel like this team is definitely auditioning for Joe Burrow for his services moving forward. Shaw, again, this is in the chat. Head to YouTube, the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. Make sure you follow, subscribe. That's where you could watch the show. You could also interact with the show in the chat. Shaw says, I know this isn't a political show, but just like every election is the most important election, this is not the most important offseason in Bengals history. Too late, Justin. Burrow is already Dan Marino. Shaw, you're saying that this is not the most important offseason in Bengals history? I would beg to differ. Here's why. The previous offseasons have been very important because you have to strike while the iron's hot. You have to strike during Joe Burrow's rookie contract. They failed to do that. Now you have Joe Burrow. Now you need to show urgency and act like you have a Joe Burrow, and they haven't done that. But this is the first time where I think we have all felt, oh, man, the Bengals might lose Joe Burrow. That is why I think this is the most important offseason, because if the front office doesn't draft and develop, and forget develop, it's all about they have to have a good quality draft. They can't be selecting guys that, all the draft experts out there are scratching their heads saying, we didn't have him high up on our draft board. But the Bengals see something in him that we don't. Wow, they've earned our respect. They've earned the benefit of the doubt. No. They keep doing that. They keep ignoring red flags on all these draft prospects, and it comes back to bite them in the ass every single time. They have to hit on this draft. They have to be aggressive in free agency. And not only do they have to be, I think it just starts with that. You have to hit on the draft, and you have to be aggressive in free agency. And then once you do that, now it all has to come together. And it all has to come together out on the field as far as the product is concerned. Because if they continue to win 8 to 10 games and continue to miss the playoff or get knocked out of the playoff in the first round, which they would kill for at this point, I think Joe Burrow has seen it could be done. I think Joe Burrow, if they don't nail it this offseason, I think Joe Burrow's out. So, Shaw, when you say that this is not the most important offseason, I disagree. I think that this offseason, it's all an audition for Burrow. They have to prove to him that they're going to be a franchise that is going to continue to allow him to build his legacy, because he has wasted 6 years in the NFL playing for this crappy franchise. And that's the unfortunate reality. Look, Jalen Hurts is not a super talented quarterback. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl, and has a Super Bowl MVP. Jalen Hurts is most likely going to finish with a 10 times more successful career and a better legacy than that of a Joe Burrow. Because Joe Burrow sat back and waited for a front office that has never proven that it could do what we want them to do. And then the next thing you know, I mean, keep in mind, a year from now, if we're having this discussion, that means Joe Burrow, 7 years in the league. I can't believe he's already been in the league for 6. Lamar Jackson, multiple MVPs. Josh Allen just won his first MVP and has a chance to get to a Super Bowl and win one this year. My gosh, can you imagine if that happens? Can you imagine if a Trevor Lawrence leads the Jaguars to a Super Bowl this year? Can you imagine if C.J. Stroud wins a Super Bowl this year? What if the Pittsburgh Steelers, with all their dysfunction, somehow pull it out this year with Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that's just not a good look for an organization that technically has way more talent, especially when you combine Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Look at all the teams in the playoffs. There's not a team out there that has a more talented trio of players like that. And they have nothing to show for it. 937-518-1410. Let's go to Don. Don, thanks for holding. You're on live, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. Happy Tuesday. What you got for us?
Well, I was just going to say they should audition for him, but I don't think they are, and I think he's just going to pull a Carson Palmer and get out of there. I just think the Cincinnati team, just from watching them, they're more interested in getting fancy skilled players to put butts in the seats. And at the end of the day, if they make a playoff, that's a bonus. That's just kind of my opinion. You know, being a Bengals fan, that's not solely sold on the Bengals what they do. I mean, like, you don't need 2 top wide receivers to win a Super Bowl. You just need one and a solid tight end and a good defense. And they haven't made any effort to rebuild that defense. They get a new coordinator, but that coordinator didn't do anything different if you don't have the players. So they should audition. They should go after it, but I don't think they will, because at the end of the day, I think they're just more, hey, we got flashy skill players. We're just going to get people in the stands, be excited about the skill players, and then if we make the playoffs, it's just a bonus. And I think Joe Burrow wants to play for more than that, and I think he probably will eventually leave. So they should, but I don't think they will. And then I think he's going to pull a Carson Palmer and get out of there.
Would you?
I don't blame him.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Now, Carson Palmer was met with a lot of with a lot of venom from the fans when that happened. You would think, I feel like if that does happen, this fan base would rally around Joe Burrow and not be happy he's leaving, but be supportive and understanding. Do you think that would be the case, or do you think he would get the Carson Palmer treatment if he did pull that card?
I think he'll probably get the Carson Palmer treatment, but for the people that, like, I'm not, emotionally attached to the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not singing the fight song. I root for them. I watch the games, but, after watching them for so many years, seeing how they operate, you got to sit there, like, I don't blame him, He's been sacked a whole bunch of times. You watch the offensive line just whiff on blocks, and then you see a defense that can't tackle worth a plug nickel, and you can't blame them. It's a bad team, and they didn't do anything to address those issues, and I just don't think they will address those issues. And they just drafted terribly last year, and I was just like, well, who did we get? We didn't get anybody. They could have got a couple of Ohio State players and, and probably leveled up on the defensive line, and heck, they probably could have got Quinshon Judkins and leveled up in the running back, but no, they just kind of poo-pooed it, and now we're kind of, it's just going to be the T. Higgins and Chase show, and they expect the fans to show up to watch that.
No, I'm with you, and it's not just last draft, Don. It's the last 3 years. I mean, they have not hit in free agency in 3 years. They have not hit in the draft in 3 years, and I think that's why everyone out there, like, I think fans are afraid to say that this is the most important offseason in franchise history, because if you say that, you're also admitting that you have no faith in them to be able to do this, and that's basically what you're saying. So this is going to be an interesting offseason, and I don't think we're going to get a true answer of how good of an offseason this is until we see the result of what happens next year, and that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I will see. Hopefully, whoever's doing their player evaluations, they need to up their game, and maybe they think they're good at player evaluations because they got T. Higgins and Chase and Jamar, and we got all these superstar players, so we're good at it. But no, you haven't got the others like cornerbacks and D line. You've been whiffing on those, and you let some of the good ones go away, and it shows up. So, yeah. I don't have a whole lot of hope in them making the right decisions because they usually don't, and I wish they would.
I'm with you, but at least we got the Reds. That front office knows what they're doing. I mean, it's painful of you.
Yeah, oh boy, don't go on the Reds. Don't go on the Reds.
But Don, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you.
Not a problem. Have a good day.
Yep, take care. 937-518-1410. Yes, it's almost that time to get into Reds talk so we can continue on talking about a professional team in Cincinnati that has a generational talent that refuses to act with urgency in the offseason. And then when things don't work out in the season, they sit back and wonder, well, by golly, we just got to get better and hope for that, not do anything different, but hope for different results. That's the Bengals and Reds way. That's just the reality of it. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. 1410 ESPN Radio. So here's another way to look at it. Has the Bengals front office technically failed Joe Burrow? And also think about that. Just think about it. Have the Bengals technically failed him? That's what I'm curious about. Think about that. It's not a trick question, but it kind of is. Because for the Bengals front office to have failed him, that means that they refuse to give him anything that he wants. And let's be clear. What was the last thing that Joe Burrow asked for that he didn't get? He wanted Jamar Chase. He got Jamar Chase done. He wanted T. Higgins. They paid $70 million for 2 wide receivers. Right? He wanted Gesicki. They gave him Gesicki, and they gave him Noah Fant. And think about this, the offseason. We keep waiting for this offseason. When are they going to make a move that appeases Joe Burrow? They technically made it yesterday, and you guys lost your mind. The decision to keep Zach Taylor was for Joe Burrow. Technically, Joe Burrow's not a victim, in my opinion, because everything that this cat wants, this front office technically gives him. 937-518-1410. Right or wrong? Has the front office technically failed Joe Burrow? I don't think that they have. Everything that this kid has asked for, he has gotten. How can you say that they have failed him? He wanted 2 number 1 wide receivers. Got it. He wanted another pass catcher in Mike Gesicki. Got it. With the cherry on top being Noah Fant. Now, that was, a little bit of a fumble, no pun intended. He wanted Trey Hendrickson paid. They technically did it. He wanted Zach Taylor. He came out and he was full support of Zach Taylor. You all wanted Zach Taylor gone. They ignored the popularity of the fan base and said, we're going to do what Zach Taylor or what Joe Burrow wants. We're going to keep him. Guys, I don't know if we're allowed to say that the front office has failed Joe Burrow because everything that he has asked for, he has gotten. 937-518-1410. Text or call. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Jane Dawson did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With the money she saved, she got herself a pricey bird feeder with an ultra-high-def camera. Should Jane have just bought a regular bird feeder? Yes. Is it hard for her to admire nature when the camera doubles as the bird's potty? Also, yes. But it's Jane's savings, and if she wants to spend her time watching the digestive habits of the white-breasted nuthatch, we say you go, girl. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Only available with TurboTax experts. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Talk about stepping up. It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
Everybody loves the season of giving, but now the season of paying for it is upon us. That not so wonderful time of the year when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, stare in horror at the balance, and resolve then and there to find new ways to save money. If you're among those Americans, why not start by cutting your wireless bill in half right now with Pure Talk's Saver Plan? It's easy. You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast nationwide 5G network for just $20 a month. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Ho, ho, ho. And if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe for the gift that keeps on saving from America's wireless company, Pure Talk.
What does fame taste like? Is it the crunch of fried to perfection chicken strips? The signature seasoning and jumbo spicy dippers that greet your taste buds with a hug? The crispy wedges that complement both of these things? Or is it the monsoon of flavor from barbecue, buffalo, or our new famous sauce that washes over all of the above, taking you to a higher plane of tasty consciousness? It's saucy, and find out with the saucy sampler from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Only at Lee's, famous for a reason.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know that hiking isn't for you. Sure, it sounds nice to be in nature while exercising, but that's what a gym and houseplants are for. I mean, you don't even like walking upstairs. So why would you walk up a hill for miles? To what, end up high in the air? Come on, you know you're scared of heights. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pricing coverage match limited by state law.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show. Right here on ESPN Dayton. 1410 Wing AM.
All right, we welcome you back to the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. A lot of Burrow talk today just because Look, it's generic-y off-season talk, and it's unfortunate that we are currently in the midst of off-season talk so early in January, but that's where we're at. Joe Burrow just wrapped up his 6th season in the NFL, 6 seasons as a Cincinnati Bengal, and man, did it start out magical, right? Like year number 2, Joe Burrow, if he can lead you to a Super Bowl in year number 2, imagine what he's going to do as he just gets more mature, as he gets more used to the league, as the roster matures, and as the roster just gets better. And that was the last highlight of the Joe Burrow era. I mean, I guess they did, to be fair, they got to back-to-back AFC championship games. But even then, that was still 3 years ago. 4 of the 6 seasons that Joe Burrow has been a Bengal has resulted in us talking about the Bengals offseason in early January instead of late January and February. And that's the reality of it. And for the 3rd straight season, Joe Burrow and the Bengals are out of the playoffs. And it just feels, this offseason feels different. There was a lot of pressure on the organization last year to hit on the draft. I mean, that's what we talked about. The 17th overall pick last year when they took Shamar Stewart, it was one of those where they have to get that pick right. Even if that pick didn't completely turn the defense around, what your fan base was looking for was Duke Tobin and that front office's ability to be able to scout talent and sniff talent out in the draft and to be able to hit on some of these. No one's hitting. There's not one name that you could maybe DJ, but it's like there's not a consistent amount of names that they have selected in recent years that you're like, all right, I think we're overreacting. Amarius Mims doesn't make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. All right, Cam Taylor-Britt, you wanted a shutdown corner, right? You wanted a lockdown corner. All you have is a locked up corner. The guy's serving 5 days in jail. I don't know if you saw that report today. Every pick has just been one disaster after another. And then they're not hitting in free agency. The DJ Readers of the world, we saw how disastrous that was. This is just a problem. It's not a good thing. And there is zero faith that the Bengals front office is going to make the right decisions this upcoming offseason. Well, the offseason's here, and it's already off to a rough start because Joe Burrow's demanding change, and he said as much. Jamar Chase has said it. You as the fans have said it. And what did the Bengals, with the first opportunity to show that they are going to mix it up a bit, what's the first thing that they did? Oh, we're going to bring back Duke Tobin, who screwed up the draft and free agency and screwed up this window for 3 straight years. We're going to bring him back. Zach Taylor, who all of you want gone. I'm more of a Zach Taylor defender than pretty much 98% of you. But you all wanted him gone? Well, they're bringing him back. And then Zach Taylor, for the cherry on top, announced yesterday that they're bringing every coach back. So do with that what you will. Do with that what you will. But yeah, that's just the reality of it. To show, they had an opportunity yesterday to show the fans and to show Joe Burrow and the Bengals, all right, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We're going in a different direction. New coach, new vision, new message. No, same old makeshift GM, same old head coach, same old coaching staff, same old message that has got you nowhere for 3 straight years. That's not off. They're not off to a good start. So today's show has been a lot about, is this offseason, are they auditioning for Joe Burrow? Well, what I threw out was, we talk so much as if, yes, this front office is auditioning for Joe Burrow. But to me, I don't feel like Joe Burrow has the right to point the finger at the front office and say, you failed me. Because the reason is if you think about it, Bengals fans, and even if you hate what I'm saying and you disagree with me and you hate that I'm a Browns fan and you hate that I take shots at your team all the time, you can hate that all you want. But you need to truly think about this question. How can Joe Burrow sit there with a straight face and actually pretend and act as if this front office hasn't done anything for him when everything he has asked for, they have given him? How can he be a victim in this? Everything he has asked for, at least publicly, he has gotten. And he's only asking for it publicly because why? So I'm supposed to believe that he's asking for things behind closed doors and that he's not getting those, but the things that he's asking for publicly, he's getting those. That doesn't make sense. Everything he has asked for, he has gotten. He wanted Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And the reason that's a big deal, I mean, I know that sounds crazy. Well, why is that crazy for him to want that? It's just, if logically speaking, that's not how rosters are constructed. And when you have limitations the way the Bengals do, if Joe Burrow was smart and understood football, and I believe that he does, I just think he doesn't care because all he cared about was, I'm a quarterback, I want to throw to my guys. Josh Allen, I think he would kill for not just two, or not just, two, he would kill for two number one wide receivers. He would just kill for one, and Joe Burrow has two. Patrick Mahomes, he has Xavier Worthy. He has some guys, but he doesn't have Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow's over here demanding that he has not one but two. Lamar Jackson, he would kill for one elite wide receiver to throw the football to. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? And these are regurgitated takes that have been thrown out for years, but the bottom line is Joe Burrow wanted Jamar Chase, wanted T. Higgins, and all this talk of, Joe Burrow knows what he needs to do to help keep all the talent there. He didn't do anything to keep the talent there. He took every dollar that he had coming to him, which I'm fine with. I'm not against that. But he took $55 million a year with the most guarantees ever in the history of the franchise. He took every guarantee that was coming to him. And then he demanded that they keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So that's $70 million a year between those two. He demanded that they keep bring back Mike Gesicki. They did that. They even gave him Noah Fant. He demanded that they get something done with, of course, Trey Hendrickson. And when, publicly Joe Burrow knows what he's doing, he was very outspoken about his support for Zach Taylor to remain the head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. So how can Joe Burrow sit back and technically hold the front office's feet to the fire when everything he has asked for, he has gotten? Even at the detriment of the team, to make the front office look bad, which they don't need any help doing, but he made the front office look bad by putting the pressure on them. Because I really don't think that if Joe Burrow doesn't go to the media last year and pressure them to keep T and Jamar, I don't think T. Higgins is a Bengal right now. And I actually think that would have been the mature adult decision to make. Go get a second-round pick for T. Higgins. They should have traded Trey Hendrickson at the trade deadline this year. That would have been an adult decision, and get an additional second or third-round pick for him. So that's where I'm at. At the end of the day, everything Joe Burrow has asked for, he has gotten. How can they actually sit there and say that, the front office, they failed him? The front office has not failed Joe Burrow. Everything he has asked for, he has gotten. Maybe he needs to start using this mic at Super Bowl Media Row this year. Maybe he needs to go and sit on all these shows again and demand, professional football players that know how to tackle, which I get is a lot to ask of NFL defensive players. I call high school football every Friday night throughout the high school football season here in the state of Ohio. I watch 16, 17, and 18-year-olds tackle every Friday. I don't think it's a lot to ask for a front office to figure out a way to find guys, professional football players, to tackle. I don't think it's that hard to do, right? It's kind of, call me crazy for expecting a NFL professional football player on the defensive side of the ball to expect them to tackle. But it is what it is. Joe Burrow's not a victim. So if Joe Burrow does, after kind of throwing out these nuggets to put the pressure on the front office, I think that if, he does pull a Carson Palmer, as a lot of you, we just heard from Don, he called in a little bit ago. I'm seeing some messages in here. I don't know the name of this YouTube account right here, but he's talking about, with the Joe Burrow going to the Rams. A lot of you Bengals fans are pretty adamant Joe Burrow is going to pull a Carson Palmer. And you guys are saying that you're going to feel for him and support him. And I'm here to tell you, y'all need to rethink that. Joe Burrow doesn't get to be a victim when everything that he has asked for, he has gotten. And I think that some of the team's issues are a result of what he has asked for because he's prioritizing the wrong things. And here's how I know, I'm in support of Zach Taylor, but I also would have been fine had they gone in a different direction because they need a new message in there. But, keep in mind, everyone's like, I can't believe Joe Burrow is in such support of Zach Taylor. Why wouldn't he be in support of Zach Taylor? Joe Burrow is all about his self and his stats. That's why he talks about MVPs all the time. I've never heard quarterbacks talk so much about, I think it's important to win MVPs. He's all about the individual awards. And he knows in Zach Taylor's system, he's going to throw for a butt ton of yards. In Zach Taylor's system, he's going to throw for a ton of yards. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you know what I mean? Like, of course he's going to be in support of Zach. Why would Joe Burrow not like Zach Taylor? Zach Taylor's offense is why he is successful. So that's where I'm at with that. Joe Burrow, why would, he wants Jamar and T. Higgins. Well, why wouldn't he? What elite quarterback wouldn't want two elite talents like that to throw the football to? But what Joe Burrow doesn't think about is, okay, Zach Taylor's good for me, but is he good for the team as a whole? Jamar and T, they're excellent for me, but if they sign both of those guys, that's at the expense of what? Oh, yeah, the defense. And the defense is what is costing me technically MVPs and playoff appearances and everything else. Everything Joe Burrow has asked for, he has gotten. Not a victim. Not a victim. I just don't get it. Real quick, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, I want to get over to the Browns here in a moment, but let's close this out with the Bengals. I think, is this? Yeah, this is Shaw. Shaw, you're on live. What's up, man?
How about yourself?
We'll see. We'll see if I hang up on you again. Will it be day number 2?
No, we're locked in arms on this one.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Kicking off the new year right. I enjoyed that yesterday. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed hanging up on you.
I'm sure you did. I mean, it brought back old memories myself.
Yeah.
But,
at least you didn't cuss this time.
Exactly. I was also sad I couldn't get the Go Blue in there, but hey, I just got it in, so it's all right. No, I couldn't agree with you more on this. Quite frankly, I don't understand Bengals fans for the aspect of the matter of if he pulls a Palmer that, oh, I'm going to back him and he's going to still be our guy. And blah. Are you kidding me? Like, you already had one quarterback do this to you. You're going to be okay with another quarterback doing it to you? Like, he's gotten everything he's wanted to the detriment of the actual franchise and the actual football team. You say Jamar's the biggest prima donna on the team. I think he's the biggest prima donna on the team. I guess me and Springboro Steve are locked arms in arms here too. It's nuts to me how a guy every off season can whine and complain about everything that he doesn't have, and then every off season the front office does everything in their power to cowtail to this kid.
Yep.
And what does he do during the season to get the franchise any return on investment for all that they didn't do? It's sickening to me how one franchise will just literally basically do everything in their power to go against being a good franchise, to make one guy happy. I don't know. It's grotesque to me, and I just don't understand it.
Yeah, and then they're going to have Duke Tobin address the media on Friday. I think it's going to be the biggest waste of time. I'm a Browns fan. The Haslams, the ownership group, to their credit, they spoke to the media, but they said the same thing that they've said for years. Like, hey, we hate losing just as much as the fans do, and we're going to do everything we can to. Yeah, they say that every year. Duke Tobin's going to give some lame press conference on Friday. Bengals fans are going to fall for it. And then they're going to continue to operate the way that they have for 50 plus years, because that's just what the Bengals have always done. So I'm in love with this offseason. I'm just sitting back, popping popcorn and sitting back and watching and enjoying. So we'll see what happens. But man,
right. I guess the only thing we disagree on is I don't see, for all of the thing I just said, is the reasons why I don't think it's the most important offseason in Bengals history. Because whatever Burrow wants is whatever Burrow's going to get. So if he goes into the front office and whines and complains about, hey, we need a defense, well, then they'll go and they'll get him a defense. If he whines and complains and says, I need more wide receivers, well, then they'll go get him more wide receivers. That's the only reason Zach Taylor is there. It's the only reason I would assume Duke Tobin is there, other than the fact that the front office just doesn't want to actually be a front office and make any hard decisions. And I don't know. On one end of the hand, I'm like, I wish the Bengals would just wake up. But on the other hand, I also like seeing them being a disaster, because
well, I mean, it gives something else with Browns fans to coincide with, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we'll keep an eye on it. But I know I got to jump off here. Shaw, appreciate the call. And I'm not letting you get the Go Blue in there for day 2. Just, it's a New Year's resolution. I'm doing my best to make sure. This message comes from Tyler from Miamisburg. Tyler from Miamisburg says, and Shaw, thank you for the call. And by the way, if you guys want to call into the show, you could do so, 937-518-1410. We're also live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. You make sure you watch and subscribe there. Appreciate you guys who are doing that as well. But text into the show, 937-518-1410. Tyler from Miamisburg, he texted the show and said, Justin, you are 100% right. Everything Joe Burrow has asked for, he has received. We can't have all this talent on offense and have nothing to show for it. We need to focus on defense this offseason, and hopefully we can finally hit on some draft picks. But with their track record, I don't see it happening. I tell you what, I'm a little bit more surprised. There's been a lot more logical Bengals fans out there on this than I was expecting, because I do know that Joe Burrow being the golden boy, in the past, if I've said anything against Joe Burrow, you guys are, usually swarming me like hornets. Like, it's been bad. But I'm glad that we're on the same page on this, because I think this is a fascinating offseason. The national media and everybody has built this perception or built this narrative that the Bengals front office has failed Joe Burrow. But you could tell that national media, they're just using the results of the team to base their opinion off of, that they don't follow in the weeds. And if you really go back to it, there's not a fan out there that can call me right now and say what the Bengals have not given him that he has wanted. Everything he has asked for, the Bengals have given him. He wanted 2 number 1 wide receivers. He got it. He wanted Mike Gesicki to come back. They brought him back. They gave him Noah Fant as well. He wanted Trey Hendrickson to get paid. They did that as well. He wanted Zach Taylor to remain the head coach. They kept Zach Taylor in place. So, again, no more. You are no longer allowed to say that the Bengals have failed Joe Burrow, because they have literally given him everything that he has asked for. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. I see Austin. Austin's calling in now. I know we have Eric and Mike on hold as well. Let me get your calls when we come back on this. 937-518-1410. We'll be right back.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The forecast, cloudy, 40 overnight. Decreasing clouds and 52 Wednesday, Thursday. Mostly cloudy, chance of rain, and 61. I'm Rick Schmepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Avatar Fire and Ash has arrived.
I am the fire!
Get your 3D tickets now for the greatest chapter of the biggest saga in history.
Whatever happens, protect his family.
Critics rave it's by far the best Avatar movie.
If your father and I do not return, you go as far and as fast as you can.
Movies don't get any bigger than this. Avatar Fire and Ash, rated PG-13, now playing.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Your favorite song shouldn't have to wait for Wi-Fi. Switch to Straight Talk and get real unlimited data on Verizon's 5G network. Straight Talk, available at straighttalk.com or Walmart.
What does fame taste like? Is it the crunch of fried to perfection chicken strips? The signature seasoning and jumbo spicy dippers that greet your taste buds with a hug? The crispy wedges that complement both of these things? Or is it the monsoon of flavor from barbecue, buffalo, or our new famous sauce that washes over all of the above, taking you to a higher plane of tasty consciousness? Get saucy and find out with the saucy sampler from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Only at Lee's, famous for a reason.
Pain has a way of stealing the moments that matter most, especially during the holidays. It's not just your knees, back, or shoulder. It's time with family and friends. But in 2026, that could all change when your body remembers how to heal. It just needs a little help finding the way back. QC Kinetic here in Dayton believes relief doesn't have to come from surgery or pain pills. They use your body's own natural healing abilities to repair and restore what's been lost, helping you move, live, and feel like yourself again. It's your body's comeback story, powered by the very cells that built you in the first place. No surgery, no pain pills, no long recovery, just your body remembering how to feel alive again. QC Kinetics delivers long-term relief finally. Make the new year your turning point, where pain stops defining you. It's time to take that first step, literally, to walk, hike, dance, enjoy the holidays, live without wincing. With QC Kinetics, healing is within reach. Schedule your free consultation today. For treatments, call QC Kinetics 937-936-0325.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enid. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Justin with Dayton Weight Loss Secret. Have you been asking yourself, what is the secret to getting my excess weight off fast and easy like a lot of other people seem to be doing? The secret is Dayton Weight Loss Secret. Our program helps you lose weight fast and easy with no exercise, no prepackaged meals, no drugs, and no surgery, no injections, and no need to be hungry. Our program helps reset your metabolism to keep the weight off for good. Schedule your free consultation at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com.
I was pre-diabetic before I started this, and I'm not anymore. I've gotten rid of medications. I mean, there is nothing better I can say except it will change your whole life.
The Dayton Weight Loss Secret program has successfully helped thousands of people lose up to 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. Schedule your free consultation in person or virtually by calling 937-800-1070 or online at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com. Results may vary.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Subscribe, listen, and watch the Justin Kinner Show channel on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and watch the show each and every day. Appreciate you guys. Again, we made a couple changes coming out of the new year. The Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, we still put all of our content on there, but we only carry the show through video stream live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. So just keep that in mind as far as that goes. Paul, I saw Paul Blanton. You just called. I have you on hold. I'm going to get to you in just 1 second. I just want to reset here. Appreciate the calls and the texts coming in. On YouTube, on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube in the chat, it's been all Bengals talk today and Joe Burrow, but I don't, again, with all these random YouTube names, I don't know who this is, but they messaged in the chat and said that just my 2 cents. Stafford is on the back end of his career. Burrow to the Rams, maybe after next year. Do you think, do you think that he would rather play for Zach? I think that Joe Burrow, and there's multiple ways let me defend Joe Burrow a little bit on this. I know a lot of people are anti Zach Taylor, and I get that. I don't think Joe Burrow loves Zach Taylor, but I think that Joe Burrow knows that the only opportunity that this team has to win football games is for that offense to be explosive. And Joe Burrow knows that he can be explosive in Zach Taylor's offense. Joe Burrow probably knows, there's probably better offensive minds out there. There's probably better coaches out there. But that's the thing I meant to throw out to you guys yesterday. So many of you want the Bengals to move on from Zach Taylor, but who do you think that the Bengals are going to go out and get? I actually don't think that there are a lot of options that are better than Zach Taylor, options that are realistic options based on who the Bengals would actually go get. Because do you think they would go get a Mike McCarthy, a Super Bowl winning head coach that has won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, that won a ton of games in Dallas playing for an impossible owner in Jerry Jones? Do you think that that would have worked? I think it would work. But do you think that the Bengals would have done it? No, I do not. They don't like spending a lot of money on head coaches, and he would be expensive. They would not be aggressive with the coaching search. And I think that that's why Joe Burrow sits back and says, yeah, excuse me, I am in full support of Zach Taylor because I don't trust this organization to go out and get a coach that I would trust. So maybe there's that angle. So when this guy on YouTube in the chat, and sorry, sir, that I don't have your name, you don't have it on the channel, but when you asked, do you think he would rather play for Zach or go play for the Rams? Oh, I think he wants to. Joe Burrow is L.A. In all seriousness, I think Joe Burrow wants to win in Cincinnati. I think Joe Burrow wants to win a Super Bowl in Cincinnati. I think that Joe Burrow is smart enough to know that from a legacy standpoint, winning a Super Bowl in Cincinnati would mean way more than winning it anywhere else that has won one already. So if he goes to the Rams and wins a Super Bowl, that's awesome. Like, for instance, Matthew Stafford is a prime example. You know, I keep calling Joe Burrow the next Dan Marino. I think that Joe Burrow I think we're currently, because until Joe Burrow's career is done, we can't call him the next Dan Marino. I think what we're watching right now is the next Matthew Stafford, because I think Joe Burrow is good enough to win a Super Bowl. So until Joe Burrow finishes his career without a Super Bowl after getting to one in year 2, I can't call him Dan Marino because his career is not done yet. So because his career is ongoing and it appears that his Super Bowl window is closing and closing, not because of talent, but because of the lack of talent around him in Cincinnati, to me, this just screams Matthew Stafford with the Lions. So he very well could be the next Matthew Stafford, because I do think that Joe Burrow's personality, I think that the way that he dresses and carries himself, and I'm not making fun, I'm just saying Joe Burrow doesn't scream Cincinnati to me. Joe Burrow screams L.A. Joe Burrow looks like L.A. You know what I mean? Like, he has that personality. He has that vibe. He has that aura. He doesn't scream Cincinnati to me. But I think Joe Burrow knows that winning a Super Bowl in Cincinnati would mean a hell of a lot more than winning it anywhere else. Matthew Stafford, he gave the Lions a ton of time. Matthew Stafford knew winning a Super Bowl in Detroit would mean way more than winning it anywhere else. But Matthew Stafford at one point said, screw it. I've given this team I've given them enough of my career. I got to get somewhere where I'm going to have a legit shot. He went to the Rams and he won it. I think, yeah. So when you bring up the Rams, and there's no rumblings out there, but like Joe Burrow just to me screams LA. Whether it's going to be, whether he goes and plays in San Francisco, he just screams, let's just say West Coast. If the Raiders draft Mendoza and it doesn't work, I could see Tom Brady doing everything in his power to position them to go get a Joe Burrow. I could see the Rams doing it. I could see San Francisco doing it. Who knows? But yes, when you ask the question, would he rather play for Zach? I don't think it's about whether he'd rather play for Zach. I just think, for right now, there's not a window to get to Los Angeles as far as that goes. Joe Burrow wants to win in Cincy. I would never crack this mic and say Joe Burrow wants out of Cincinnati. I think that's why Joe Burrow is pressing this front office. Hey, changes have to be made. We have to do things different. But I think Joe Burrow is also letting you know, I don't want to leave, but I will. That's why when he was asked about it, hey, do you envision playing anywhere else? And he said, I envision a lot of things. That was him telling you. 937-518-1410. And as I stated earlier, Joe Burrow, it's hard for me to look at him as a victim in Cincinnati just because everything he's asked for, he's gotten. And I challenged the Bengals fans. I said, is there one thing that he has asked for that the Bengals have not given him? I don't think you can name it. Now, Chad Kinser on YouTube, he says, I can, a Super Bowl. Yeah, but you can't ask your front office. He's asked, if he wanted a Super Bowl, he wouldn't have asked for 2 number 1 wide receivers. He would have asked for Jamar Chase to get taken care of and to use that $30 million to go beef up that defensive line, to go improve the linebacker core, to actually go get a secondary that can get stops, right? Like, I just, that's why I disagree with that. I disagree with that one, Chad, nonetheless. 937-518-1410, text or call. Let's go to Paul. Paul, thanks for holding. You're on live.
Hey, Justin. You and I very much think alike when it comes to the Bengals because you and I are both realists. I mean, you just nail it on the head, hit it on the nail, whatever it is, all the time.
Yep.
As far I agree with you that Joe Burrow is more LA than Cincinnati, just for the fact that the Bengals have no identity and they haven't since Mike Brown took over, except that one of maybe being a losing team. Now, I understand that Mike Brown gave Joe what he wanted. But then what's the problem? Why are they still losing? Because of the defense. Mike Brown ignored the defense. So how much is that to an extent on Mike Brown or Duke Tobin, whatever, the puppet, to not like equal it out? And Mike Brown has too much of a track record of losing all the time. So I'm always going to blame Mike Brown. I've just been anti-Mike Brown since the early 90s. And I just, how much is that on the front office, even though he still gave Joe Burrow what he wanted. And he gave Joe Burrow the receivers just because Joe Burrow, that's their buddies. I mean, I don't think he's doing it he wants to keep his friends together,
Yep. No, and Paul, here's the thing. This is why I wanted Duke Tobin gone, because to your point, the front office, they did try to provide defense. They drafted pretty much all defense last year. They drafted a lot of defense the year before, but none of the guys that they draft are worth a damn. And that's the problem. They don't draft well and they don't develop well. And then they're not aggressive enough in free agency to overcompensate for not being able to draft and develop. And it's just created a nightmare as far as that goes. So it's like Duke Tobin, he's sitting back saying, hey, I'm trying. I'm drafting defensive players. You're just not drafting the right ones, my guy. Like that's the problem that he's not doing his job, Duke Tobin, that is, which is a reflection of the Brown family, as you mentioned.
There you go. That's what I was going to say. Is it goes back to Mike Brown then for keeping him and extending and keeping him longer. As far as replacing Zach Taylor, you and I both understand, and a lot of people don't, that Mike Brown is just not going to pay for a big-time coach. He's always going to get the cheap bargain coach that comes cheap and is a puppet and a yes man. He's not going to get somebody that like a Mike Holmgren or an established name out there. He's just not going to do it. And everybody, I know they drove you crazy. Everybody's saying, "Oh, we got to get John Gruden and all these other ones." No, Mike Brown is just not going to do that.
Yeah, and those people that say they want John Gruden, I'm with you. I think Gruden would be. Imagine, like that because he would reset. He would actually provide a culture. I think that he would provide an identity. I think there would be a toughness, that would be kind of brought upon with someone like that. I like, Mike McCarthy. People kind of poke fun at him. I'm like, that guy wins everywhere he goes, and he coached for a pain in the ass owner in Jerry Jones. He won a lot of games without a defense in Dallas. Dallas is, to me, the Bengals of the NFC. They're all offense, no defense. They remind me of one another a lot, and Mike McCarthy had success there. But we could talk about those big name coaches, Paul, like you mentioned, but we both know, like you said, they're never going to go that route. So what's the point of even talking about those guys in Cincinnati?
Exactly. But there's a lot of people who don't understand that, and they think there's hope for that. But the reason why I think, and not to bring up anything bad about John Gruden, but if you can remember the scandal he was involved in was something that he said, that's something that I understand. I know that Mike Brown would never accept in the organization. And so that's another reason why Mike Brown would never hire. So I would take John Gruden in a minute. It'd be so fun to watch. But I know just based on that alone, as well as the aggressiveness that John Gruden brings. Because if you can remember, he fired Sam Weiss, and Sam Weiss was aggressive, but I guess him and Sam Weiss didn't get along or something. So it's just you gotta be a yes man around Mike Brown, and he's just the main problem of this whole thing. I say he is more than Duke Tobin.
Yep. And he's not going to fire himself, and Duke Tobin's not going anywhere. That's what's frustrating. Right. So we'll see.
As far as Zach Taylor, I mean, I still don't know about Zach Taylor. I know that he's a yes man too, and if you just let Zach go and we can see what he can do, then we can come up with a better conclusion on him. I really don't know because I think he's under Mike Brown's control too much, like every other Bengals head coach.
And that ain't going to change, at least as of now.
No, it'll never change. And Katie will be the same way.
It felt like they were going in the right direction for a bit, not just because of the Super Bowl, but they just started doing a lot of things. Like they were starting to spend money. They added the Ring of Honor. They started just doing a lot of non-traditional Bengals things. And then it's like they got too progressive and just stopped. And it just feels like it killed all momentum with the progression of the franchise. And winning is the only thing that's going to cure this, but it starts with the draft, free agency, and then, coming together. Who knows? It's going to be an interesting offseason.
Really quick, I know you got to go. I identified that as just short term as far as that success because I knew, like I always do with the Bengals, I'm negative about them. I'm realistic. I know that the proverbial Bengals rug is always going to be pulled out from underneath them. Even when they went to the Super Bowl that third time, I knew they would lose it, and they did. It's just the Bengals way.
Hey, Paul, Happy New Year. It's good hearing from you. I appreciate you calling, man.
Good. All right, thank you, Justin.
937-518-1410. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, live on 1410 ESPN Radio. You could text or call nonetheless. Okay. I do want to switch over to the Browns now. As long as you guys are calling and texting and in the chat about the Bengals, I'm going to stay on because someone just messaged into the show saying, my gosh, all you're doing is just bashing on the Bengals. I'm like, I'm continuing the comment. As long as you're calling about the Bengals and interacting about the Bengals, I'm going to keep talking about the Bengals. I let you guys, I learned a lot to let you guys drive the show. I'm going where you guys want to go with it. But we're switching gears here. But by all means, the phone lines will remain open. The text line will remain open. If you have something on the Bengals, I'd love to hear it. But like I said, I can't look at Joe Burrow as a victim because everything he has asked for, he has gotten. So everyone out there, like the national media, Stephen A. Smith, a lot of you guys do this whole boo-hoo. Oh, man, Joe Burrow deserves better. I'm like, what are you talking about? Josh Allen would love 2 number 1 wide receivers. Josh Allen, you know what I mean? Like Josh Allen would love to just snap his fingers in the front office, give him everything he wants. Josh Allen's roster isn't very good, but it's more balanced. Like, I think when you pay quarterbacks as much as these guys are getting paid, the front office looks at them and says, we're going to give you a lot of money because you're worth it. But you're also so talented that we would love to give you multiple number 1 wide receivers, but we're expecting you to elevate talent around you. And this is going to sound like a shot again. I don't know of any talent that Joe Burrow has elevated. Joe Burrow doesn't elevate talent. That's my problem with that approach. Is Joe Burrow should be good enough to play with some average nobodies around him without multiple number 1 wide receivers. And, I'm not saying that he can't, but it feels like he can't because that's why he was so desperate to keep those 2 there. Because say what you want, like everyone's like, man, Shedeur Sanders, he just did not look the part. I'm like, what weapon? Joe Burrow has 2 number 1s. And I'm not saying you give Shedeur 2 number 1s and he looks like Joe Burrow, but I promise you this much, the progression of Shedeur Sanders would look a lot different if he had at least 1 number 1. So, Josh Allen right now in the playoffs has a way more balanced roster than the Bengals. But Josh Allen, that's kind of comes with the territory. We're going to pay you a lot of money. We're going to take offensive weapons away from you because we have to make sure that the fat guys up front are paid and happy. We got to make sure that we have weapons on the back end of the defense, to be able to go against the other top quarterbacks in the NFL. Same thing with the Chiefs. The Chiefs have gotten worse over the years, even though they continued making it to Super Bowls, but their roster got not worse, but balanced. And the Bengals refuse to balance. And until they financially balance this roster, it's going to be the same thing every year. All right, on to the Browns. Yesterday, I gave you my top 5 list for the head coaching candidates in Cleveland. And John Gruden, so I messed up yesterday. I just completely left Gruden off the list. But I think that right now what Cleveland needs is somebody with an identity. I don't want a new up-and-coming coordinator in Cleveland. I just don't. I like Halfley over at Green Bay. Right? Like, I like guys like that. I like Minter with the Chargers. But at the end of the day, I think Cleveland needs an established leader, a guy that just knows what he's doing, that just knows football. And this roster is young, and they need someone they're trying to learn how to win. And when you go hire an inexperienced coordinator to be a head coach, now you have an inexperienced roster that's trying to learn how to win while an inexperienced coordinator tries to learn how to lead as a head coach. Now, I'm not a fan of that. In more established franchises, I'm okay with it, but not in Cleveland. Cleveland needs an adult in the room. I like Kevin Stefanski. I think that Kevin Stefanski, I do believe, they're making me want to root against him, and it pains me to say that because I like Kevin Stefanski. I don't know why we can't just do this whole 2 things could be true. Kevin Stefanski is a hell of a coach. It was still time for Kevin Stefanski to go. The Browns were one of the most, and these are things that, when you look at coaches, and this is why I've always also liked Zach Taylor and Cincy, the Bengals have always been one of the least penalized teams in football. They just rarely beat themselves. When they're fully healthy, this team, despite being poorly constructed, they don't beat themselves from a penalty standpoint. That's good coaching. Kevin Stefanski, this team, a ton of penalties. They were horrible on special teams. They were not disciplined whatsoever. Kevin Stefanski's an offensive mind, and they were one of the worst offenses in football for 2 straight years. That's why I defended Zach Taylor, saying Zach Taylor, I get that they have a lot of issues themselves, but like what he was brought in for was his offensive expertise. His side of the ball's covered. You know what I mean? Like he's still bringing some. I don't know what Kevin Stefanski brought to the table the last 2 years. You know, I think Kevin Stefanski made a lot of mistakes. And see, now it sounds like I'm anti-Stefanski. I am not, but I'm also not going to sit here and act like this guy was, you know, Bill Belichick in his prime and Cleveland just ran him out. Like Kevin Stefanski made a lot of mistakes as well. You know, I didn't see like that part's annoying, and I am maybe being a homer and defending it a little too much. But like in all seriousness, Cleveland was one of the most penalized teams in football. They made so many dopey mistakes. They were not good special teams. You know, they were not good offensively. I mean, they found ways to lose, and that ultimately does go back to coaching. That ultimately does go back to coaching at the end of the day. But Stefanski's gone. And I know what's going to happen. Like, it was the same thing with Baker Mayfield. This reminds me a lot of the Baker Mayfield thing. It was time for the Browns and Baker to split and part ways. It just was. And I was a Baker guy. You guys know this. All right? I miss my good friend Mark Schlemmer. Some of the most fun I ever had on radio was when Baker was in Cleveland, and it was me versus Bengals fans and him stirring the pot, trying to piss me off and trying to get Bengals fans riled up to attack me. I had a blast. You all know I was a big Baker Mayfield. I even knew it got to a point, I'm like, I really love Baker Mayfield, but there's a ceiling with Baker Mayfield, and he's going to win you games, which is something Cleveland would kill for at this point. But I know how you fans are. You non-Browns fans are. Like when I would argue with a lot of you, you were still making fun of the Browns at the time for saying, well, Baker's good, but I can't believe you're going to pay him $35, $40 million because he's good, but he's not the Josh Allen. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Lamar Jackson. And I agreed with you. He's not those guys, which is why I didn't want him to be paid like those guys at the time. So we all agreed on this, but then somehow Baker goes to Tampa, starts winning a bunch of football games, and then you say, I can't believe you guys just let him go. I'm like, hold on, you don't get to do that. And how many times on this show have I argued with, like when I would put out my lists of, I would rank the coaches in the AFC North, and this is like why I know you guys are all full of it. When I would say Stefanski was a better coach than Zach Taylor, you guys would all roll your eyes and come at me and attack me on social media. And now that the Browns have moved on from Stefanski, now you guys are trying to tell me that they've moved on from an Andy Reid or a Sean McVay. The Browns, Stefanski's a good coach, and I think he's going to be good wherever he goes. I was listening to The Herd earlier today. I think Colin brought up a good point. Everyone keeps talking about Stefanski potentially to the Falcons or potentially to the Raiders and all this. And I think Colin Cowherd brought up an excellent point today. He said, keep an eye on what happens with Buffalo this weekend in the playoffs. Buffalo is at the point right now where with no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, and no Joe Burrow in the playoffs, Josh Allen, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the AFC that's in the playoffs right now. So Josh Allen doesn't have to get through anybody. You know, Trevor Lawrence is saying, man, I got to get through Josh Allen so that I can then get through either Aaron Rodgers or so that I could either get through, May with the Patriots or Justin Herbert with the Chargers. Like, there's a lot of good quarterbacks, but Josh Allen's the best one. If the Bills, who have made the playoffs for 7 straight years, get knocked out of the playoffs this weekend, the Bills are going to be moving on from their coach. I could see Kevin Stefanski going to Buffalo and having a ton of success, and more power to him. It still doesn't mean that the Browns made the wrong decision. They needed a new voice in there. So where do the Browns go from here? I showed you my list yesterday. I revamped it a bit. I fixed it because John Gruden needs to be on that list. The Browns need someone with an identity, someone that can go in there and reset the culture, someone that can go in there and demand attention and demand respect and do all the things that, because, say what you want about Stefanski, but a lot of the players like Grant Delpit and others, Denzel Ward, they were all asked about what is something that they're hoping, is going to come along with a new coach in Cleveland. And all they kept saying was accountability, accountability, accountability. So many times you could be bad at your job in Cleveland and they wouldn't change. They wouldn't make a change. There was no accountability. No one feared making a mistake in Cleveland. That's not how it should be. That's not how it should be in any profession. I should fear making mistakes at my job because that means my job has a standard. And if you If your job, is not getting on to you for making mistakes, that means they don't have a standard or an expectation. That's a problem. So I think that's why a Mike McCarthy is necessary. I think a John Gruden is necessary. Now, my list right now for those on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel right there, I have Mike McCarthy number 1 on that list. I explained it yesterday. Mike McCarthy has dealt with pain-in-the-ass owners and pain-in-the-ass quarterbacks. And guess what Cleveland has? Cleveland has a pain-in-the-ass quarterback that has a big-time ego that needs to be kind of brought in a bit in Shedeur Sanders, assuming that he's the quarterback moving forward. And they also have a pain-in-the-ass owner. There's not a head coach out there that's available that has the experience of dealing with both at the same time. And not only did Mike McCarthy have success, that he won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. He went to the playoffs every year in Dallas. He won every year. They won the division. They won 13 or more games 3 straight years in Dallas. And guess what? They had a ton of offense. They had one of the worst defenses, but they won every year. 3 straight years when Mike McCarthy was there that they won 13 or more games. Consistency. Does he have flaws? Yes, but there's not a perfect coach out there. You look at Harbaugh in the AFC North. I love Harbaugh. He ain't perfect either. Mike Tomlin, leader of men, my gosh, his way of being a leader of men is, I'm just going to get rid of you so that I don't have to take credit for you not being a good person on this roster. Like, that's what he does. So Mike Tomlin has his flaws as well. But Mike McCarthy, this is what I laugh at. So many people mock me for saying Mike McCarthy, I would love him to be the head coach in Cleveland. You remember a year ago when there was chatter of the Steelers potentially moving on from Mike Tomlin? What was the number 1 name that kept being floated around for the Pittsburgh job that everyone said would be perfect? Mike McCarthy. So if Mike McCarthy is good enough for Pittsburgh, I think he's more than qualified and good enough for Cleveland. And I want it to be Mike McCarthy. I think he could deal with an egotistical owner, a meddling owner like the Haslams. He's dealt with it with Jerry Jones when he was in Dallas. He's dealt with egomaniac quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers. He has an egomaniac quarterback in Shedeur Sanders, and I think that they can connect, and I think that Shedeur will be happy playing in an offense. Like, McCarthy's offenses are always great. I want it to be Mike McCarthy. The Haslams have to get this right. They have to get Mike McCarthy as far as that goes. So, I don't know. I don't know what direction they're going to go in, but my list, I did add John Gruden there because if you don't get Mike McCarthy, I think John Gruden's a great get. And it's all going to come down to what coordinators do you get with it. As I talked about yesterday, I think you need a great coordinator no matter what, but that's the same for any team. To sit there, when people say that, well, if you get him, you better get good coordinators. Well, that's an idiotic thing to say because that's the case for anybody. There's not a head coach out there that you can hire and not have that being a caveat of, well, hopefully you get good coordinators. What are we doing? So I want it to be Mike McCarthy. Here's my dream coaching setup for Cleveland. Okay. Cliff Kingsbury was just released today from the Commanders. Crazy. Didn't get along with the GM and the owner. They clashed a lot. That's one of the best offensive coordinators out there. If I'm Cleveland, I get Mike McCarthy. I go get Cliff Kingsbury to be my OC, and I keep Jim Schwartz as the DC. That's what I want. Or John Gruden as the head coach with Kingsbury as your OC and keep Jim Schwartz. I think right there, okay, and this may sound a little crazy, but if you have John Gruden as your head coach with Kingsbury as your OC and Jim Schwartz as your DC, that's the best coaching staff in the AFC North. Hot take? Possibly. Don't care. When you combine the level of skill of the OC and the DC and then the aura of a Super Bowl winning coach in John Gruden or Mike McCarthy, you get one of those two and you keep Jim Schwartz, you add, of course, Kingsbury, and you have Gruden or McCarthy. That's the best coaching staff in the AFC North right there. As far as that, I don't know what else to say. That they have to find a way to get that done. On this list as well, because I had to round it out with 5 in some capacity, if the Browns are going to go the route of hiring a defensive coach to be their head coach, it would be you're not going to be able to keep Jim Schwartz if that's the case. Make Jim Schwartz the head coach because guess what? Jim Schwartz, your head coach, is running your defense. You still get Cliff Kingsbury to be your offensive coordinator. I put Jesse Minter on there. I like Jesse Minter. I like Halfley from the Packers. That's great. And I also, and I'm not going to go into detail again, but I did put the Deion Sanders thing in there because I think that, you look at Shedeur Sanders, the most success he ever had was playing for Deion Sanders. You look at Deion Sanders as a coach, the most success he's ever had as a coach was coaching Shedeur Sanders. And you look at Deion, it's the same thing. Deion Sanders, he's the face of the operation. All right, you say what you want about Deion. I know he could be over the top, but he's a leader. You want to run through a brick wall for that man. And if Deion's your head coach, same thing. You go get Kingsbury to be your OC, and you keep Jim Schwartz as your DC, and you keep that train moving. I want it to be an experienced coach. I do not, and you could say, Deion's not an experienced NFL coach. I don't think anyone questions Deion in football. By the way, I'm going to say this too. I don't think Deion's the best choice. I do not. I don't. I think that Deion is a realistic choice. Like earlier, we were talking about when Paul called, we were talking about Zach. We all know the way the way the Brown family works. If they were to move on from Zach Taylor, they're not going to go the flashy route of a Mike McCarthy or a John Gruden. They're going to go for the special teams assistant that's going to cost $150,000 a year to be their head coach. That's how the Bengals operate. That's what they did with Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor wasn't even an offensive coordinator. He's a guy that shared an elevator with Sean McVay, and that's why the Bengals hired him, because everyone was following the Sean McVay route years ago. That's just the reality of it. So we know the habits of these owners, and the habits of the Haslams is big and flashy. Well, that's Deion. You want to make noise, you want to make a splash. It's a Jerry Jones-esque hire, and that's what the Haslams are as well. They were flashy with the Deshaun Watson move, this, that, and the other. But the only way it makes sense to go get a Deion to be the head coach in Cleveland is if they are going all in with Shedeur being their starting quarterback moving forward. And I don't think that they are. I think Deshaun's the guy next year. You've spent so much money on Deshaun Watson, okay? You spent so much money on Deshaun Watson as it is right now. He's fully healthy. Full offseason, go get some wide receivers, fine-tune that offensive line. You already have one of the top defenses in the league. Go get a Mike McCarthy, get a good offensive coordinator, keep Jim Schwartz. It's your best option. I'm not saying it's a great option. Some of you are mocking it, saying, oh, yeah, that's going to win the North. It's their best shot. If Shedeur's better than Deshaun, fine, go all in with Shedeur. But Deshaun, we know the guy can play football. We've seen it. I've seen him play a lot of bad football since arriving in Cleveland, but I still cannot wrap my head around how the guy that played in Houston just doesn't exist anymore. Like, he just lost all of that based on the options that they have. You might as well go one more round with Deshaun to see what you have, or you go all in with Shedeur. But those are your best options. And Dylan Gabriel, go fill up water bottles, and when they need something, go hand it to them. That's as simple as that. In the chat, again, the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. By the way, guys, please hit the like button at the bottom. That helps grow the show. Please, please, please give that the like. Mr. Groobs on YouTube in the chat says, if Mike McCarthy did for the Browns what he did for the Cowboys, he'd still be working here. What do you mean he'd still be working here? You mean Jerry Jones, who makes crazy decisions all the time? The Cowboys had won 13 games for 3 straight years. They made the playoffs for how many straight years? And the problem is that they weren't advancing in the playoffs. Guess what? If Cleveland starts getting to the playoffs and then we're complaining that they're not advancing in the playoffs, I would kill for that problem. People said it was stupid to move on from Kevin Stefanski, who made the playoffs twice. Well, if we can get a coach that can get us to the playoffs for 3 straight years, winning 13 games, 3 straight years, I would kill for that. Man, we can't win in the playoffs. I would kill for that problem versus the problem we're having now of can't get back to the playoffs. So I disagree with you, Mr. Groobs. I disagree with you. Dallas was wrong for moving on from Mike McCarthy, to be honest. Mr. Groobs said if he did as well for the Browns as he did for the Cowboys, he'd still be in Cleveland. I'm confused. I'm sorry, Mr. Groobs. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. It sounds like that's where I'm misunderstanding as far. Oh, he's saying you agree with me. Okay, my bad. Even if you didn't agree with me, that's fine. I just misunderstood what you were saying. My apologies. Chad Kinser. What up, Chad? He's in the chat as well. He said, as far as Burrow goes, oh, no, not that one. I want to go back to your Browns one. Oh, that's where it is. So Chad Kinser on YouTube in the chat says, since we're on the Browns right now, I said it as soon as the draft happened, and I said it on your show, Stefanski would be fired and Daddy Sanders would be next in line. shout out to my guys, Elliot and Jacob and Casey, when I was doing Off the Bench. One of the biggest fights we ever got in was about this, of course. But I remember saying, hey, if I already know how this is going to go down. Shedeur will be drafted by Cleveland. They won't win a lot of games year one because it's going to be a little rough patch when you draft a rookie quarterback, and then they'll hire Dion, and then it'll be the Dion and Shedeur show. So, Chad, I remember you saying it. We're on the same page. I've been saying that as well. It sounded better at the time years ago. At the time, Dion was more successful as a coach at Colorado, and at the time, Shedeur was trending towards being a legitimate first-round pick. Things have changed a little bit, but it still would not surprise me to see Cleveland go that route. I don't even think it's the best route to go, but it is a route that they would go. I want Mike McCarthy. I want Mike McCarthy. Chad says, I guarantee he will at the very least be a topic candidate for the job. That I agree with. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. We'll be right back. We'll close it out with some Buckeye talk next.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Traffic and body pain can slow you down, but don't let the pain stop you. With just one pill, Elite provides up to 12 hours of pain relief so you can keep moving. Use as directed.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage, no medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Hi, I'm Chef Franklin Becker. You know the jingle. Now discover the facts about Ozempic, a GLP-1. There's only one FDA-approved Ozempic made by Novo Nordisk. Learn about the real thing.
Talk to your healthcare professional today. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and to learn more about Ozempic. Semaglutide injection 0.5, 1, and 2 milligrams.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know you can't cook. You're not one of those people who say that they can, but when people come over for dinner, they find out the hard way, you can't. You can't even microwave popcorn, and that's literally just one button. Plus, measuring and patience are huge parts of cooking, and that's just not you. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pricing coverage match limited by state law.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefontaine, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
So the body knows that it needs to heal itself, but it doesn't know how to concentrate it and target it into just one area. So that's where we come in.
By we, Dr. Ashley Caravelli means the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, QC Kinetics.
We put in those treatments, then it sends out like little signalers to your body. We're able to make the body focus on the areas that need the most healing.
QC Kinetics has gathered brilliant medical minds like Dr. Caravelli and Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, to lead the way in these innovative pain treatments.
So at QC Kinetics, we have a whole team working nationwide with cutting edge research to reach our patients and treat them and know that surgery is no longer their only option.
The consultation is free. Find out if you're a candidate. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Do you have an old sports program, baseball, photo, ticket, or game-used equipment just collecting dust? Sports Investments wants to buy your sports memorabilia. They're also interested in old sports cards and also buying political, aviation, and entertainment items. Bring your collectibles to Sports Investments and get a fair value on the spot. If you decide to sell, they'll pay you immediately. Sports Investments is the largest buyer of memorabilia and cards in the area since 1993. Sports Investments also feature the best selection of autographed memorabilia, sports cards, and other collectible items for sale, including all your favorites like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Bengals, the Browns, the Big Red Machine, UC, XU, UK, NKU, UD, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, just to name a few. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 ESPN Radio and on the stream at wingam.com.
You know, Indiana's success over the last 2 years, I kept saying, man, like at a certain point, we're just going to have to start believing in Indiana. I had no faith in Indiana last year. I remember when Ohio State, Indiana faced one another in the top 5 matchup in the regular season. I was like, you could say it's a top 5 matchup, but we all know this is not a top 5 matchup. You don't have a top 5 matchup and have a team be favored by 16 or 17 and a half or whatever the line was it was 2 seasons ago, I guess. And then, you know, Indiana comes into the season, they're rolling right off the bat. And I'm like, yeah, but they played literally nobody in the non-conference. But then they go to Oregon and they get a 10-point win, on the road at Oregon. But then what did we do? Well, maybe Oregon's just not as good as we thought, right? And then they kept on going. Then they played Penn State. Then they played Illinois, and I think that was actually before Oregon, and they beat them by like 50. They put up 60-something points on Illinois. They bludgeoned a top 25 opponent. In fact, when you look at the win, the win total between the win at Illinois and at Oregon, they won by a combined 60 points. Just bludgeoned top 25 teams. That's what you're supposed to do. Still didn't buy into it. Illinois, all right, they're getting a little bit of love, but they're not a legit top 25 team. Oregon, that's a top 5 win, but that's not, they're clearly overrated. And then they beat Penn State, and then I didn't give them credit for beating Penn State because Penn State's atrocious. They fired their coach not even at the halfway point of the season. And then they needed all 4 quarters and a ugly throw and an amazing Heisman-worthy catch to beat Penn State. So I never truly bought into Indiana, although I loved Cignetti and I loved the story. Well, you look at Indiana, and, they continue on. They remain undefeated, and then they go on to get to the Big Ten championship game. And I said, well, they're not going to beat Ohio State, but, they're at least going to, if they could at least contend with Ohio State, maybe lose by 10 or less, that'll get everyone's respect, right? And mine included. I never truly thought they would actually beat Ohio State, but they beat Ohio State, and they won a Big Ten championship game. And then I kept doing it in my head. I'm like, yeah, but that game clearly meant way more to them than it did to Ohio State. So, of course, they won. I think they're going to get exposed in the playoff. And then they didn't just beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl. They demolished them. But then I'm like, yeah, but it's not Nick Saban's Alabama. Like, at some point, I have to stop doing that with Indiana. I think that they're for real. They run the football. They have a hell of a passing attack. Their defense is legit. Great special teams. They don't hurt themselves. They don't get penalized often. And then my favorite thing about Indiana, they are the only team remaining in the playoff that has 0 5-stars on this roster. I love this Indiana team is everything that should be right about college football. Whether it continues or not, who knows? But to Curt Cignetti's credit, they have their quarterback for the post-Mendoza era. They get the quarterback from TCU, the best available quarterback, in the portal. They killed it. Indiana, they go out and they get a 4-star wide receiver, a 4-star quarterback, a 4-star running back, a 4-star edge rusher. They killed it in the portal. Indiana's here to stay. Indiana's here to stay. And I love this storyline, and it's crazy because I sit back and I think about it. I'm like, well, man, Ohio, when you think of the Big Ten, you think of Ohio State. Is Indiana, are they going to be the new face of the Big Ten moving forward? If they go on to win this national championship and they do it undefeated, that means they would have beat Oregon twice. They would have beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. That means they would have, they beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl. That means they would be 16-0. Indiana is here to stay. People try to diminish them by saying, well, they don't recruit the high school ranks. They're just they're just going out and they're buying this roster. Well, that's what college sports is right now. The new Indiana is now potentially, if they go on to win this whole thing, they are embarking on being the face of the new modern college football world that we live in, which is crazy because you think of Big Ten, you think of Ohio State. And I'm not saying that's necessarily not going to be the case, but my goodness, if Indiana does do this and they go 16-0 with multiple wins over top 5 Oregon, with a win over Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and Ohio State was the number 1 team at the time that they beat them and undefeated themselves, I'm fascinated by the Indiana story. I think Cignetti is just awesome for college football. I think he's a character, and that's what Ryan Day isn't. The only time that Ryan Day's really been talked about is when people mock him. And I'm a Ryan Day guy, don't get me wrong. But like Urban Meyer there was an aura with Urban Meyer. Nick Saban, there was an aura with Nick Saban. I don't think there's an aura with Kirby Smart, but you see Kirby Smart and you feel Georgia football. So I guess there's a little bit of that there. But, Dabo Swinney doesn't have an aura to him. These coaches, Ryan Day doesn't have that. Curt Cignetti, if that goofball wins a national championship, there'll be aura with it. Because you didn't just win it. You won it at Indiana. And you beat Ohio State, and you beat Alabama, and you beat Oregon twice, and you might, you obviously beat Miami or another SEC team in Ole Miss in the title game to get it done. Kind of cool. So I say that because, man, it's funny how things change and change so freaking quick. Because Ohio State was the most dominant team in college football this year. They were being talked about as, is this one of the best defenses of all time? And all of a sudden you lose to Indiana in ugly fashion in the Big Ten title game, and then you lose in the similar fashion to Miami in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, and it's like, oh, maybe that team wasn't as good as we thought. Maybe they're overrated. I think they're overrated. Keith Byers and I talked about that on the show the other day. He disagreed wholeheartedly. I just said, I think that based on how high we hyped them up throughout the season, for them to go out the way that they did, it's one thing if they were undefeated Big Ten champions and then went out the way they did against Miami, but they looked ugly offensively, back-to-back games against 2 legit defenses. And it's like, oh yeah, you don't run into those types of things throughout the regular season because the Big Ten is not as good as what people try to say it is. That's just the reality of it. So I don't know. I think that Ohio State, for being undefeated, you finally beat Michigan for the first time in 4 years. I kind of feel like they just squandered their best chance at another national title with this group. I think that Jeremiah Smith is going to be a one-time national champion, which, by the way, nothing wrong with that. But I thought, man, they won it last year, and then they retooled, and this team was the best team in college football this year, or so they appeared. And I thought they were going to win it this year, and they're pretty much going to bring back everybody next year. Man, oh man, look out. Now all of a sudden, you lose back-to-back ugly games Ryan Day is not doing a good job in the transfer portal. Curt Cignetti is planning for a college football playoff semifinal, all while dominating in the transfer portal. Indiana's not going anywhere. I think Ohio State squandered a ginormous opportunity to win another national championship. Have you seen their schedule for next year? Take a look at this. Ball State, baby. No, but Ball State, they get a primer game this year before Texas, so that's good. But Ohio State is at Texas. In the first month of the season, they're going to be on the road against 2 top 10 teams. They're going to be at Texas. And again, we don't know that. The polls haven't come out yet, but Arch Manning's coming back. And, obviously we know some of these polls are overhyped, but Indiana's a legit top 10 team next year. I don't care if they lose the semifinal. They're a legit top 10 team to kick it off next year. Same thing with Texas. 2 of the first 4 games are against Texas and Indiana, and they're both on the road. They're at Texas. They're at Indiana. And I should say, again, I lied. Hold on. Let me rephrase this. My bad. I fell for this schedule. My apologies. This is their schedule, but the date is still to be determined because they have Michigan like the 4th to last game. My apologies. So let me restart this because I fell for it. My apologies. It's not that I fell for it. I fell for the order of the schedule. And when I saw that Michigan wasn't the last week, that's what threw me off. So the order of this schedule has yet to be determined. But we do know the dates of the first 3 weeks: Ball State week 1, Texas week 2, Kent State week 3. We do know those dates are locked in. Everything else, the Big Ten schedule hasn't been released yet, but we do know who they're playing. So have they squandered an opportunity to win another one? Yes. I think this year, their schedule, I know they played Texas week 1, but their non-con was not very good outside of that. They didn't play anyone of real resistance whatsoever. You avoided Oregon. You avoided Indiana. We thought Penn State was going to be a major matchup, and that was just a dud. Michigan, you finally got the monkey off your back with that win, but Michigan, they were a little distracted. So Ohio State, and you didn't get the best Texas team to start the season either. So at no point was Ohio State tested throughout the regular season the way we had anticipated them coming in. We thought Michigan would be way better. We thought Penn State would be a national championship contender. And we thought Texas would be a national championship contender. They didn't play one playoff team the entire regular season. And then the first good team that they faced, it was ugly. And then the second really good team that they faced, as ugly. This schedule next year, I don't know, man. Based on how the transfer portal is going right now, they've lost more good players than good players that they've brought in so far. And I have my doubts because this year, the schedule, everything's set up for them to be in prime position to win the national title. And they couldn't even win one playoff game. They couldn't even beat Indiana in the Big Ten title game. And they are at Texas next year. They're at Indiana. You have Michigan, of course. They're going to be better. It was just announced today that their quarterback is coming back. I think that's huge for that program. Now, not that he had a choice. I'm not going to sit there and give him too much credit, mainly because of the fact that, he got paid a lot of money. This is an example of why paying these high school kids a crap ton of money to come play at your college when they haven't done a dang thing yet. It's funny because that actually worked out in Michigan's favor because at the end of the day, it's just kind of one of those things where because he underperformed, Bryce Underwood underperformed, he announced that he is coming back to Michigan because if he left Michigan, no one is lining up to pay Bryce Underwood the money that he was going to be making at Michigan. So, of course, he stayed. I'm not going to sit there and say, good for Bryce Underwood, loyalty to Coach Whittingham. No, he's loyal to the green. He's not, he's not loyal to the maize and blue. He's loyal to the green. And the green is, there was no other team that was going to pay him the amount of money that Michigan had already promised him because he wasn't very good in year one. But that is very good for Whittingham. That is very good for Michigan because I actually think the kid's really, really good. And I think he's going to be amazing in his second year because he's going to have a coach that actually knows what the hell he's doing, and it's going to be a much more stable experience. So good for, Whittingham and good for Underwood. We'll see what happens this upcoming season. But so Ohio State, again, as I mentioned, having to play at Indiana, having to play, at Texas, having to play Michigan, of course, and then Ohio State has to play Oregon at home, and they have to play at USC. So at USC, they have to play Oregon, they have to play Michigan, you have to play at Indiana, at Texas. Man, oh man. I don't think Ohio State's not winning a national title next year. I'm worried about whether they'll make the playoff. Next year's a 3-loss Ohio State team, and it just matters how they lose in those games. The Big Ten, that's a loaded schedule. Ohio State hasn't played a schedule like that in a long time. I don't know the last time Ohio State played a schedule like that, to be honest. It's going to be grueling. I don't know. We're out of time. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for tuning in. We'll do this again tomorrow. Make sure you like and follow and subscribe the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. And, of course, you can listen every day right here on 1410 ESPN Radio here in Dayton. Until tomorrow, this has been the Justin Kinner Show. Talked a lot of Bengals, talked a lot of Browns, talked a lot of Buckeyes. If you missed the show, make sure you subscribe to the Justin Kinner Show wherever you get your podcasts as well. That wraps it up for us. Have a good Tuesday, everybody.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.